Down in the second turn with Zach Osborne, and you were in the TV studio with us. This is the starting list. That's how they qualified yesterday. We'll leave you guys to look at that. Gives us a little bit longer to talk to you. Did you watch the race, the first one? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I watched the first race. I actually saw it was Osborne. Musquin that fell in front of Osborne, and basically Osborne fell right behind him. Yeah, it was a good race. You know, Roczen definitely was pretty fast. I could say definitely a lot faster than a lot of the other people on the track, and was making it look pretty easy for himself.
Okay, here we go. 5-second board is up, which means only one thing. The gate is about to drop. Roczen is in around about gate 7 down the left-hand side from his teammate Jeffrey Herlings, closest to the camera. And once again, the KTM's fastest out of the blocks. And there is Roczen up the inside. So again, the perfect position for him to beat as he tries to go around the turn. Not quite sure who that one of the...
Scott Champion in second.
There you go. So a little bit of local knowledge. Anstie or Searle in around about 3rd or 4th position. Another guy goes down. Was that Paulin? It was one of the Black Yamahas, I think, maybe. Just going through that sketchy landing off that jump. One of the Kawasaki's back here, trying to find out where Marvin Musquin is. Well, we know that Roczen and Herlings are up there. Searle, I think, is the first of the Monster Energy CLS Kawasaki's. That's Anstie, I believe, just in about 4th or 5th position. So there we have Roczen. He leads. Herlings second. Then it's Tommy Searle dropping down the hill, Mount St. Helens. A spectacular sight on this racetrack as everybody else filters their way through. That race line a little bit wider. Zach Osborne in around about 10th position at the moment as he dropped down that hill. As they head out that left-hander, up and over Saddleback, over the furthest point of the racetrack, away from the starting area on that side of the hill. And Ken Roczen, I went and saw him actually just before the start of the race. He was saying the track was really gnarly. He had to concentrate the whole time, and be interesting to see how it was. This is before they went out on the sighting lap, of course. And he was aware that they were making some changes. This corner here has been fixed on the entry point, and you can see they've taken away some of those ruts on the uphill as well. And the machines have been very, very busy throughout the 1 hour break that we've had between the MX1 race 1 and this second MX2 race. But everybody able to get up and over that triple step up over the far side of the circuit. Tommy Searle as well, I saw him, and he said, if I can get a start, I can win this thing. So it'll be interesting to see. We've got the 3 fastest riders in the MX2 World Championship here getting ready to do battle. In fact, Tommy Searle, is he starting to lose a toe a little bit already? Has he gone down? No, there he is. So he's made a mistake somewhere. But David Bailey, this is shaping up to be pretty good, isn't it?
It's going to be a really fast pace this time. The track's in much better condition. It's still having to go wide there. That's one of the places they weren't able to get to. I think they would have been a bigger mess. But a lot of other sections are smooth now, which means you can just hold it wide open and go anywhere you want. This first lap is they're going to realize the pace is quick. There you see a rider making that, taking that risk through all the mud to make a pass.
But it looks like they've been through there with the machine as well. Still going to be quite deep as they come over the line. So Roczen and Herlings, a gap opening up between Tommy Searle in 3rd position. Then we've got Gauthier Paulin in 4th. 5th is Champion. 6th, Max Anstie. 7th, Travis Baker. 8th, Marvin Musquin. Osborne 9, Charlier 10, Oban 11, Roulance 12, Tixier 13th as they come over the tabletop. Then it's Rauschenecker in 14th, followed by 388 as we look at a replay of that first turn coming through into turn 2. Wow, just looking at that downhill in the distance there, and the riders coming down there. Oh, we saw somebody else go down here, look, just off the back. Oh, 3, 4, 5 guys off the back here. Couldn't quite see who they were. On board with Zach Osborne.
It looks like the 91 at 5 o'clock.
No, 91, Max Caro not here, but there's Osborne getting squeezed on the jump here. I thought he was just going to pick up the crash going through the left-hand side, but not to be the case. This is where Osborne and Musquin crashed in the start, the first lap of that opening moto. Herlings, I asked Herlings as well, what happened when you lost those 13 seconds? He said it was the same place where Marvin and Zach crashed, just came in, hooked to neutral at the wrong point, got thrown up over the handlebars but saved it, and then obviously in the panic, as you do, jammed it back down the gearbox. Front wheel came up, sent them across the track, and he said it was just so amateurish, you know, but he was able to keep it on 2 wheels and keep it in second position. But we don't have a lap time just yet. But Michael, I know you're injured at the moment. We won't dwell on that, but I'm sure you would love to be riding out here this weekend, wouldn't you?
Yeah, right now the track definitely looks pretty awesome. Oh, here we got Paulin. Maybe it looks like he's going to...
Does he save it?
Yeah.
Good save.
Yeah.
Is this about the best you've ever seen the track?
Yeah,
it's perfect
this
right
actually
now.
is, best case scenario for Glen Helen at the moment. A little bit of rain, and as you can see the conditions now, they're almost perfect.
Good save there for Gauthier Paulin, but unfortunately for him, he's way down off the leaderboard, I think, isn't he? Not inside the top 20, so maybe he was one of those guys that got caught out. In fact, we did say a Black Yamaha, didn't we?
He's actually in 4th position there, so he's up front.
Oh, yeah, sorry, just came up on the board there. But
Herlings trying to tighten up the gap
between Tommy Searle.
Well, he's pulled away. You can see from Searle's position, he's lost sight of those guys just a little bit. Herlings trying to latch on to Roczen. Not an easy thing, but you got to give him credit for trying. And for Searle, I'm really impressed. I've seen a lot of heart out of him this weekend. Not that he didn't have it before. I've just noticed it, what he had to come back from yesterday and that start and the first moto. And here he does have the chance to get a look at these guys up front, and he's finding out that pace is about a second quicker than what he is used to running.
Yeah, he was a little bit annoyed, actually. Saw him down on the grid as well as he was preparing his start gate. And he just basically said that he lost his goggles pretty much on the first lap. Remember when we saw from the camera shot at the top of Talladega, the water splashing up? He was one of those guys that had water go down behind his tear-offs and down behind his roll-offs. He tried to persevere with it, but for about half distance he had no goggles, so that really caught him out.
I didn't notice that until the very end. So again, the heart, it's difficult to do that for a few laps at the end, but you can see the checkered flag pretty much at that point.
Well, in the first race, Ken Roczen's fastest lap of the race was a 3:04.5. He's already come over the line now, 2:52.2. So that gives you an indication as to how they've worked on the track. The conditions are working in their favour. And Ken Roczen growing with every lap. He's already got the whole of the downhill between him and Herlings as Tommy Searle looks to be closing back up again. There's Marvin Musquin working his way through here. Musquin down in 7th place here on our screen, just behind Osborne. Marvin Musquin was saying he was quite comfortable as well, but he had no front brake in that crash when he hit the bike of...
Oh, good tears off.
Yeah, there's Paulhan. So that's out of 4th position. So he's not even made it through here. Gauthier Paulhan. That looks like he's walking around the outside here somewhere just to the left of our commentary position possibly. But so a bitter disappointment for Gauthier Paulhan, who battled hard actually in the first race. Tonus is out. Arnold Tonus has gone down as well, so I'm wondering, there was definitely carnage going over that first Monster Energy tabletop jump coming out of Talladega turn, that turn 1, and I'm wondering whether Tonus maybe got caught up in that as well, or difficult to say.
I saw in the first moto he had actually a pretty good get-off right leading onto the start straightaway there.
Yeah, we saw it, just coming out of the wave section here as well.
So that could have a factor in that as well.
Yeah, possibly, although he did say that he wasn't actually badly beaten up. His crash was bigger yesterday in the qualifying heat, believe it or not. Ken Roczen leads, Herlings second, Tommy Searle is third at the moment, Max Anstie in 4th position again. That'll be good enough for an overall podium, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. In fact, it would be. He would edge out his teammate by about 2 points for that 3rd position. Max Anstie in 4th, Travis Baker in 5th. Didn't get a chance to speak to him, where the other riders were down on the grid, so it would have been interesting to have got his take. But he's right where he wants to be, isn't he, David? As far as being an American, coming here, who knows the circuit, new bike, he enjoys the Honda, and he'd want to try and get a result here, wouldn't he?
Yeah, this is about where I figured he'd be. I thought he could do a little bit better than he did the first moto, but he had that crash, and who I am a little bit surprised with is Scott Champion. He's holding on to that. He got a great start to be in position, but he's still there, ahead of the former world champion.
Yeah, Marvin Musquin obviously didn't get a good start, but there we see him right behind Zach Osborne. Said his physical fitness felt okay, even though he was riding with no front brake. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in this second race, how long it takes him to get around Zach, if at all, because Zach, of course, he wants to make amends for that, by his standards, poor performance in the first race, although it was a great ride back through from the first turn crash to get back to 9th in difficult conditions.
Tough the first moto to try to come through the pack because the ruts were, you had to make a decision in a corner to either follow 2 or 3 guys. Ooh, somebody down. Not sure if that was somebody running up front, but yeah, it was so tough to just sit and wait for people through those long ruts, and it just ruins your vision. It's hard to make progress, but Zach hung in there.
That corner, so one line now, this left-hander.
I believe that was Scott Champion that had gone down.
Yeah,
I didn't even see it.
Kind of looked like him. It was a red and white.
Now we got the battle between Travis Baker and Zach Osborne.
Yeah, Champion's dropping back, look down, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Where did he crash?
Just leading down the downhill into that left-hand turn before the sand straightaway there.
Okay. So Roczen then leads. He's 7 seconds clear of Herlings. Although, 2:53.4. That's about a second slower than his best lap a moment ago. Herlings 2:55, so that gives you some indication. Tommy Searle 2:56, so not able to close down that gap on Herlings at the moment. Anstie having a great ride in 4th. Baker, he'll be pleased with that, ahead of Osborne, Musquin, Charlier, Scott Champion. He remounted then to get back to 9th, so didn't lose too many positions. Just depends now whether he can close down Charlier ahead of him and get back towards Marvin Musquin, but you feel that's a pretty big ask.
Yeah, and for Roczen to just go out in the first lap and just carved 3 seconds out of everybody. And then 2 more this last lap. He's gone. I mean, he could just throw it in cruise control from this point on and ride comfortably and match the pace of everybody trying to catch him. And if they get close, he can turn it up a little bit. Nice position to be in.
Marvin Musquin just losing the front end coming into a lessee turn. A couple of 3 corners from the finish line. Almost went down. Trying to keep Zach Osborne in his sights, but at the moment, Roczen still leads. Herlings second, Tommy Sell third, Anstie fourth, Baker fifth. Defending champion there, Marvin Musquin. He's down in 7th.
Yeah, I was calling him the former world champion. I was calling him the former world champion. He's actually running that number 1 plate. I was looking at his GP wins, 14 GP wins in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
That's
pretty good going.
That's not bad.
Well, you were saying, weren't you? You know, you did, 3 or 4 USGPs, won 2 of them?
Yeah, 4 of them, and I blew a couple, and I won a couple. So I think we're tied in that bracket. It's hard to win a GP.
Yeah, it's not easy. And then when you see the guys just doing it for fun, like, Stefan Evert's got 101 to his name before he stopped racing. And, everyone was talking about Joel Robert when he won 50, and no one was ever going to do that. Joel Smets, he took, more than 50, 57, I believe, and then... Stefan Evert's picked up 101.
That's amazing.
And he could have raced another year and picked up a few more, but, the similarities between him and Carmichael, raced for a similar amount of time and picked up the same amount of world titles and national championships, similar amount of victories, 101, 102, I think, something like that. So, those two sort of steeped in greatness, really, in terms of, motocross terms.
Ken Roczen, I think he's on rails at the moment.
Isn't he? He's just doing everything right, huh?
And he rides so smooth.
And I
really
remember
nice to watch.
We were saying this last
yesterday.
year.
He said, he looks really smooth.
And we were
I
saying
thought, he does? I didn't get a chance to see him that much in practice, but you're right. I mean, he's just...
And we said this last year about Marvin Musquin as well, didn't we? How smooth he was and different riding styles and that kind of thing. The 2 KTMs, though, already clear now of Tommy Searle.
That's the first time I've seen or noticed that anyone jumped that entire jump that enters the starting line. All the way over it.
Because I was watching yesterday. I'm pretty sure he was the only one that I've seen do that all day.
It seemed difficult to get over. The landing seemed quite steep. And if they just landed on the top, they bounced too far. So it was just easier to step on, step off, wasn't it?
It did. The rails you were talking about, that just proves it. Because he's like, let me try this. That'll probably work. And it does. He's got to enjoy that zone while he's in it.
It might have been as well that in the break they've probably just worked that part of the track and just reposition the.
Well, there's braking bumps up on top. As Zach went by, you can see when you land up there, it's a little bumpy. So he's figuring maybe it's worth the risk to try to hop the whole thing and make it smoother. Because as you land on the downside, you get all that time to start making the turn.
All that momentum going up there into Talladega as well. It's definitely pretty useful.
Just looking at the onboard, just almost down there, Zach Osborne. That's coming out of turn 3. That allows Baker to close up all over the back on the Lucas Oils Troy Lee Designs Honda. So Zach Osborne won't be needing Baker breathing down his neck. And
he was able to get by him and almost blew it. And he knows that Musquin's back there, so he's like, okay, Travis, hold him off for a little while. And maybe over the long haul, he might be, from his experience anyway, a little bit more nervous about Musquin back there than Travis. Nothing against Travis, but Musquin's got that number 1 plate. So,
yeah, and we all know that he's just, back from injury, not ridden for 6 months from, his knee injury in Paris-Bercy. This is his first race back since then. And, of course, at that time of the year, November, he was already a dominant figure, a 2-time world champion, 14-time Grand Prix winner. But a little bit tougher this weekend for Marvin Musquin so far. Marvin Musquin trying to find a way around. Travis Baker gets good drive on the KTM up the hill, gets the squeeze on him and pushes the American wide. So that now leaves Travis Baker down in 7th position. And from Travis's point of view, if you're a rider, Michael, you'd want to try and learn as much as you can from someone like Marvin Musquin, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if a guy like Marvin Musquin gets around you.
I'm here with Mitch Payson from Pro Circuit. We're here, we've got in Glen Helen, but 2 European riders out on the track. How's it looking from your point of view?
They're doing all right. I mean, they... Roczen's pretty fast, obviously, so he's got a little bit of a lead, and Herlings is in front of him by a couple seconds, so we'll see what happens at the end of the moto.
Excellent, thank you.
going back to that Marvin Musquin comment, didn't realise we were going down a pit lane there, but if you're a rider, you'd want to try and latch onto him, wouldn't you, if you're Travis Baker?
Yeah, if I was Travis Baker right now, my number one goal is just to stay as close as I can to get on Musquin. And, you know, it's pretty weird when you get behind someone like a rider of that caliber and you can actually stay on them. You literally just adapt to their pace and everything becomes easy for you almost. It's very strange.
But going back to what we were talking about just before we came on air, I think you were looking, David, at as Tonus, looking a little bit disappointed going out in the first lap. But we were talking about lap times, fastest laps for certain riders, and Travis Baker, you know, even though he finished, 9th or 10th in the first race, that 10th position, he was still 8 seconds off the fastest lap of the race.
I know, 8 seconds off of Roczen. I mean, 8 seconds a lap, you know.
We
And
know
3
conditions
laps,
were tough.
Man, you can't even see the person anymore, even if you look way up the track across the valley. So it's, you know, it's inspiring as you know that's possible and that's what you're trying to do. But then, man, it's a little bit demoralizing at the same time. And right now, Roczen with a 2:52, the best lap of the race. Baker with a 3:01.
Yeah,
he's
so
improved
9 seconds.
it, but yeah. Actually, no, yeah, it's one worse.
Yeah.
Roczen, I think Baker's riding as well, or maybe better than he did in the first moto, or Roczen stepped it up that much more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can always say conditions. You know, some riders like riding in deep, heavy conditions. Some don't. Some ride a little more conservative to try and stay out of trouble. So you could almost forgive maybe like 7 or 8 seconds, depending on where you are in the race. But now that conditions have dried out, that 9 seconds is still a long way, isn't it?
Yeah.
David, correct me if I'm wrong. Is he not coming off of a hand injury from Supercross season?
Yeah, he started the season. Travis is one of those kids that just smiles all the time, and he's not quite as animated as Anstie, but he's always happy. And I saw a big scar on his hand at Anaheim, and I'm like, what's that? Oh, that just happened the other day. And so he did have a couple little things go wrong, but he doesn't complain. So most people don't realize it, but he's pretty much coming into he's peaking, I think, at a good time when the Nationals are getting ready to start. He's feeling strong again.
Looked like he's just disappeared over the top of the hill here. Joel Roulan's there, but ahead of him is Marvin Musquin and Travis Baker. Baker still trying to work still trying hard to keep Musquin in his sights as Musquin goes over after Zach Osborne.
He's copying his line. The parts of the track I can see. A lot of guys are starting to hug that far left as we look at coming into that corner, but with, like you were saying, when you follow a guy and you adapt to the pace, I remember coming up through the ranks like you are now and starting to ride with the best, and you get behind them and you hear where they let off, you hear where they get on the power, you hear when they shift and line choice and how they flow, and you just adapt on the spot. You almost don't even realize it. Next thing you know, you're 2 seconds a lap faster. It doesn't feel like it.
What amazes me is when you get behind somebody like that, it's always the things that are just completely crazy where they're so much faster. As for me at least, I overanalyze so much, and I always realize that it's just the small things where they make all their time.
Right. You're not overanalyzing. I can relate to that. It's like when you think about it too much, then you can just think yourself right out of a position.
Yeah, don't dwell on things, David.
Yeah.
Just turn that little light switch off.
Oh, it's hard, and then you come in and you find out that you had 2 lines out there that were just terrible.
You know who was like that? Donny Schmidt was like that, overanalyzing, but he wanted perfection, so maybe that's not a bad thing. But I tell you what, though, was interesting. 4.2 seconds, Roczen and Herlings now. 2:53, 2:52. Herlings sets his fastest lap of the race, so a second quicker.
Baker lost 11 seconds. He must have gone down just before the finish line that last lap.
So Baker dropped down a few positions as well, looked down to 9th. So that moves Oban, Charlier up into 7th and 8th. As we look at Scott Champion here. What do we know about Scott Champion? Not a lot. Go, Dave.
I don't know that much about him. I think...
Sorry to hang you out there.
No, he's fast. He gets good starts at times, and he can run up there like we're seeing. But just putting it all together and having the ability to run the pace, the guys around him when he got that start for the whole moto after moto, that's something that he hasn't been able to quite nail down yet. But it takes time. It took me like 6 or 7 years as coming up into the pro ranks to start to figure out how to stay up front when I got a start like that. So I can relate to what he's feeling.
Michael, I'm Paul Mellin. We're joined by Michael Lieb and David Bailey here in the commentary at the US Grand Prix. Michael, just this track here in California, a lot of riders come and train here. We were talking to Dean Wilson in the MX1 race. I suppose as a kid, you used to come and ride here quite a lot, raced here quite a lot. Just looking at it now, I know it's a different layout, but maybe 1 or 2 corners and hills are similar and whatever, but how different are the lines that some of these guys using to what you would use on practice day? Because I'm just thinking more Travis Baker. You know, if he was just coming here on a training day, he would probably go for this line, and then suddenly these European guys maybe look at lines in a different way. Baker's in. So he's, I think he's had an off-track excursion. No, puncture.
Changing the wheel.
Puncture.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he had a flat tire in the second moto of last year as well.
Yeah. Is that what it was?
I believe so.
So back to us then. You want a permanent job?
He's like, no, I want to be out there right now. He's looking at the track like I am. I don't normally. This is like my son's least favorite track to ride, and I never raced here, and I could see why he didn't like it that much. And I'm not putting the track down, just the conditions. It's difficult. And I'm looking at it right now going, man, it looks really good. The dirt's nice. The berms are good.
I'm foaming in the mouth.
I know. It's got to be driving you nuts. But you'll get your chance.
Nicolas Aubin and Christophe Charlier just coming under the Rebootizer banner there, just working their way back round towards the finish area to complete what would be their 6th lap in the second moto here. They are battling for 7th and 8th. Charlier in that 7th position at the moment. Looks like Osborne's just gone through. And Musquin goes through as well, so Musquin does get the better of... No, we're just waiting for Osborne to come through now. Max Anstie's gone through, though, definitely. Yep, that gap still 4 seconds. And Osborne closing up on the rear end of Tommy Searle. I'm sorry, on the Anstie. So right at the top end of the circuit, Max Anstie now coming under pressure from Zach Osborne, who's riding a pretty good second moto here. He's come from a long way back. He didn't make the good start. He's picked his way past a handful of riders, and he's closed in on Max Anstie, who we already saw from the first race. Wasn't hanging around, and he knew this circuit. Yeah,
he's been pretty solid ever since I've had an eye on him yesterday and today. He's always up there in a decent position, and hey, to try to reach and grab one more and get his teammate Searle would be nice, but you kind of got to baby step your way back into where you feel like you belong, and this is a solid day for him if it stays just like it is. But he's got company behind him, and then Musquin lurking back there in case those guys start battling and lose time.
Yeah.
Back to the front of the pack, Herlings just turned the fastest lap of a 252.8, almost
fastest
matching
lap.
Roczen's.
Yeah, his fastest lap of the race. So, 52.8.
He actually closed in on Roczen a little bit that lap.
And look at that, 6/10 slower than Roczen's fastest lap, which he did on the first lap. This is lap 6 into the race, and Herlings getting ready to pull the pin and go after the German. So with 13 minutes plus 2 laps to go, we could see possibly Jeffrey Herlings wanted to step it up, and the question then would be, will Roczen want to respond, and how will he respond?
With
because
more
it's
throttle.
Difficult. Yeah, it's difficult to, when you get close, we've seen it, haven't we? You know, you're in 1 or 2 ruts in the corners, but that was the weather conditions.
Yeah, it's... You got to try and close the gap, and I definitely applaud him for, putting himself maybe in a position to make more mistakes, maybe go down, but just to try to not give Roczen too much momentum or confidence. If he does beat him, you at least want to stay pretty close. But pretty much Roczen's doing to Herlings what Herlings did to Roczen at the last round.
Well, Nicolas Aubin has found a way past Christophe Charlier, so Aubin now in 7th position. That move came around Talladega just about a half a lap ago. As Tommy Searle comes over the line now to complete his 7th lap.
Oh! Just was glancing at Herlings going up the hill, and his back wheel tossed out. The only thing that saved him was to hit the side of the wall.
I've seen a few people that far right land line, just pitching out and catching the bank. Yeah, 3 gaps, 3.1 seconds. Look at that. The gap between the 2 leaders, Roczen and Herlings, 254.2, 253.4 for Herlings. Tommy Searle, 22 seconds back of the leader. Anstie, we saw last time around, coming under pressure from Osborne. That gap between those 2 guys is still around 3 seconds. So Anstie, he's got his work cut out. He can't afford, actually, for Tommy Searle to take 3rd overall in the championship. And by that I mean Osborne goes by Anstie. That's the podium given up to your teammate, which is going to be a bittersweet pill for one of you. Or a bitter pill to swallow, should I say. Osborne at the top of the hill, just using that right-hand line that you were talking about there, David, a moment ago.
Yeah, that line's not working anymore, and there's a shadow.
Well, as we look at Ken Roczen, he continues to lead here, but he's only 3.1 seconds down on Herlings. Tommy Searle is 3rd, Anstie 4th, but he's coming under pressure from Osborne. Ken Roczen's lead is 3 seconds, but there's a back marker between him and Herlings, who tries his best to move out of the way. Takes a look over his shoulder, realizes the Sandmaster, Jeffrey Herlings, was coming through. You were in Valkenswaard a couple of weeks ago.
I actually flew home 2 days after Bulgaria.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I saw you there or not, but did you see the race on the TV?
Yeah, I still did, yes. Herling was quite fun to watch, and right now he is definitely on the move after the number 94 machine.
And this will be an interesting scenario, wouldn't it? Just 10 minutes plus 2 to go.
Well, I mean, why was he just an awesome sand rider, or is it just rough, or was he just on? Hard to say.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I mean, you've ridden the sand over in Holland, haven't you? You know what it's like.
First time last year I went to Lommel, and I was about 9 seconds off, and I thought I'd done a pretty good lap, and I came back in, and I was demoralized completely.
That's when racing kind of isn't fun for a few minutes. You have to go sit down and think about that. But you know, that's the sport. It brings out the best in you for those that are willing to just try to step it up a little bit more and close those seconds down. Next thing you know, it's only 2 or 3, and then you get a start and you're hanging. It's fun.
I remember actually at Lommel I spoke to you and I said to you, what do you think of the sand? And you said, you know what, I've never ridden in anything so difficult in all my life, And, when you start talking to your friends back home and you say you've never ridden anything like it, trust me, you haven't. But he's right, I tell you, it's deep. David Bailey, what do you make of that pit board there?
Who was that? Was that for Herlings or
Herlings,
Musquin?
I think.
Yeah, well, it could work for either guy, because if you're Roczen, hey, man, you can't let up. And you don't want to give any confidence or belief to Herlings either. And for Herlings, obviously, he can't let up. He's still trying to close the gap.
Gone back out. He lost another second. So, yeah, that's for Herlings, because Gerald Weaver is the mechanic for Roczen. 4.1. The difference between those guys. KTM would love this, though. To bring these two guys home, that gap, of course, will go from 11 seconds to 11 points to 14 points as far as the championship goes. So it'll be a good day for Ken Roczen, of course. Had a tough time. Both these riders had a tough time here last year, if you recall. Second turn crash with Max Anstie for Ken Roczen in the second moto. And Herlings, well, he's just off the pace. Too many things going through his head other than concentrating on the racing. But both guys bringing their A game here. But unfortunately for Herlings, just not quite able to match Ken Roczen. David, you just saw something then as Roczen came down that hill, one of the lines he was using.
Yeah, it's just when he goes over the top, a lot of guys, and I talked about it even going, when you finally get up that huge hill, the big flag, you kind of want to take a breath and pause before you head back down. But Roczen's carries so much speed, he's jumping and landing out against the wall, and then he uses the suspension to kind of bounce back over to the other side of the track, set him up for the corner at the bottom, miss all the bumps.
Last year, actually, if I recall, one or two riders were actually wheeling. Kai Rowley was wheeling on the downside of that plateau because it was not as wet to the outside, and they were able to sort of soak up and cushion the blow on the rear suspension, stop it picking up. So, good spot for that. Zach Osborne, he's there. He's in fifth, chasing down Max Anstie.
It's funny, as David was saying, as you drop down, as we're looking here, as you drop back down Mount St. Helens, you do want to take that break as you're coming down because you have that feeling. And, I looked at it before and I was like, why would you want to take a break?
Yeah.
And then I wrote it and I said, okay, I get it now.
It is a long circuit, this, compared to the European circuits, isn't it? Normally 140-odd lap time. Here we are, more than 1 minute and 10.
I prefer the longer track like this. It actually makes the moto go by a lot faster than normal.
Yeah. What do you think to the live studio show you did yesterday? An experience for you?
Yeah, that was really cool. That was an awesome deal. I was stoked I was able to be a part of that.
But no, you can't really put a time frame on it. Are you hoping to be back to French GP, or maybe a little bit after that, maybe one of the Portuguese or the Spanish ones, or is it still a little bit too soon?
I see the doctor as of right now on May 25th, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be riding here in the next week and a half to 2 weeks is the game plan at the moment, but you never know, things can change. So I hope to be back for the French GP, but I'm pretty sure Portugal's looking good.
Okay, cool. Well, Travis Baker just goes through. He's managed to go back out there. He's still a lap down, though, unfortunately for him, and out of the points. But using this second moto as outdoor experience for Hangtown in a week's time.
Yeah, when we're talking about the transition from Supercross to outdoor, that's what he's doing now. I mean, that's what he's been doing the whole time, but you kind of want to do well. And now that that's out the window with the flat, no fault of his own. He was running a solid race. But now it's just turn laps and get fit. You know, I mean, I think after all the racing yesterday and how hard it's been so far, he could probably go park it and, and still be a little bit worn out from this. But that's tough to put this together. And then next weekend, you know, the anticipation of the Nationals starting usually runs your heart rate a little higher.
But the difference is, you know, there's him and a handful of American riders that are probably going to be at Hangtown. There's a lot of names we can mention that aren't here. It's very easy to go and practice in the week, but you can't substitute practice for racing, can you? And he's in a real race situation in an outdoor race 1 week before the season kicks off.
Yep, and while we're talking about that, you know, and him getting that experience and getting comfortable, we're looking at Musquin doing the same exact thing, just trying to get comfortable. And it's not, you know, now that the race has gone the way it did and he had his problems in the first moto, it's just laps at race pace.
It's getting all the jitters out going into Hangtown for these guys at the moment.
Yeah, you don't want to go to Hangtown and make mistakes on the clock up there. You'd rather get that out of the way here if there's any bugs to work out and then go up there and feeling sharp.
Just looking at the way that Marvin Musquin's riding, Michael, how do you think he'll figure next weekend?
It's hard to say. I've seen him practicing down here as I've been home for the last 3 weeks, and he's looked really good at the practice tracks. He's been on par with guys like, you know, Dean Wilson, who was on the show earlier, and guys like Blake Baggett. And, you know, I know Blake Baggett is riding really strong right now. He's one of my good buddies, and I think that he'll fare pretty well. I expect a good top 5 or maybe even get on the box in one of the motos for him.
Hardest part, I think, is, you know, especially since it's a one-day program for outdoor, is how fast he can learn the tracks. You know, I know he can watch them on TV, but you know that from going to Europe. I mean, what's it like to go over there and try to get used to a whole different kind of program?
For me, it's the complete opposite. I mean, we go over there and you get 35 minutes, you know, 2 times during the day before you even race. And at the AMA, is it, 15 minutes?
It's if that.
Well, they've halved your program, haven't they? They've taken a day away.
Yeah.
The first thing, you know, my trainer, Jackie Vimon, last year with Bud Racing was telling me is I can go out there and take my time. I said, this is the only way I know what to do, is just to go out there and put a good lap down and be done, because everything happens so quick here. But so I think he's going to have to adapt to that, and, you know, that might hurt him, but I'm sure that he will adapt to that very fast.
How is it with Jackie? Is he still in your corner a little bit? Do you still touch base with him? Because obviously he was instrumental in you going from somebody who wasn't scoring, because obviously I saw you first time in Portugal last year. You didn't arrive in the first 3 races, did you? You weren't there for the first 3, and then you arrived in Portugal with a hand injury. You rode Spain, I think, Catalonia, didn't score points there. You came here, didn't score, went to France, didn't score. It was a long time before you scored, but you were, you know, the whole time. I mean, was the training different that he was having you do out there? Was that part of the reason why you were able to work your way through and gradually increase your season? Or do you think you could have done it anyway on your own, in your own way?
No, Jackie helped me a lot last year, and Jackie and I are still very good friends. We talk on a weekly basis, along with his girlfriend Manola. They're like a second family for me in Europe, and it was a really good relationship to bond when I was out there. They're absolutely great people, and, you know, I think definitely Jackie helped me out a lot last year, and it was really tough breaking my wrist and having to come back from that 11 days after and try and ride in Spain. And I think Jackie brought a lot of good to the table, and they're great people all around.
Former world champion, of course. You would have rode with Jackie Vimon at one of the nations, I guess, certainly 86 when he was world champion.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe at Bercy a couple times too. And
yeah,
I think the first year we went over there, Rick Johnson T-boned him. That wasn't a good thing to do in France.
No.
He goes, hey, note to self, don't take out the world champion in France if he's from France.
Yeah.
Jackie's a great guy, though. I saw him recently because we both work at or involved with JT Racing coming back. And it's nice to see Jackie, and I found out he doesn't live very far from me either. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he has a house out here as well, does he?
Yeah. You probably know better than me, but I think when he is out here, he stays pretty close to where I live, out down in Temecula, Marietta.
He stays, I believe it's the Bell family, Mike Bell.
Oh, okay.
I believe so.
All right. 1:45 plus 2 to go. Roczen still leads as we look at. It's not champion, is it?
No, that is PJ Larson on the 249.
Oh, Nick Larson.
Oh, Nick Larson, excuse me.
You got the Larson bit right.
Close enough.
That'll do. But, yeah, just, 1.5 minutes to go, plus 2 laps. Roczen still leads. A couple of laps ago, actually, it was down to 2.1, but Roczen stretched it out again to 4.4. So every time Herlings gets close, Roczen just flicking the switch and turning it back on again, which is, the trait of a good rider, feeling comfortable and in control.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying before, he just can... You see him, how much he's moving around and throwing his arms around and punching the air and stuff on the starting line to get himself fired up. And he does lay down the fastest laps right away and get the cushion he needs. And then he can just kind of regulate the race going on behind him. So Herlings has to do something really special to to affect the outcome here today, or Roczen's got to throw it away. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
And that gap's just gone out to 7.6. Roczen already over the line. Herlings just came over the line now, just before us. So Roczen heading back up the hill.
Sometimes you just have to admit it partway through and go, you know what, it's just, I'm not going to do it. You know, you don't want to give up, but in the back of your mind, you got the dude on one shoulder saying, come on, and the dude on the other shoulder going, no, be realistic, man.
But then at the start of the season, you know, you could ask Herlings to say, yeah, deep down, you know, I wasn't planning on finishing third in the World Championship last year, but that was definitely on track for doing that before he broke his shoulder or damaged his shoulder at the Czech Republic a few Grand Prix from the end of the season. So then this year you kind of go, right, yeah, deep down I think I can probably be world champion, but everyone will tell me I'm too young to be world champion. Roczen's a more experienced guy, but hey, I'm going to win the sand races, Holland, Lommel and Latvia probably, you know, the three sand races. But you know, that's kind of how it's working out at the moment. Bulgaria, Roczen was on fire, and here he's doing just enough to stay ahead of his teammate, and like I said, he's riding in control.
He's in a good position as far. I mean, he's doing what he needs to do. He's trying to win races. He won the last one.
I think we're getting ready to go down to pit lane and speak to KTM. Let's maybe touch in with the KTM boys, I think, just to see what their view is on Marvin Musquin.
On Herlings, though, I was thinking that, you know, let's just say Roczen just continues to do this and wins the World Championship. Then he's coming maybe here, and Herlings will be positioned perfectly to win a World Championship.
Osborne's closed up to the back of Max Anstie here, it looks like.
Yeah, that was a couple
ready
seconds.
To make a last lap move.
Getting ready for it. So Osborne down in 5th place. Marvin Musquin, don't see too many mistakes from him. Back end just drifting out.
It wasn't a mistake from him. Yeah, it was a mistake from the spectator.
I was thinking, okay, so the suspension hasn't kicked back around and high-sided him, but then
I know. Wait till you're on the track right behind all that, huh? It's horrible. Can't even see where you're going. It hurts. But as Dean Wilson pointed out during the first run, it hurts a lot worse at Hangtown.
Yeah. Well, if it stays like this with Roczen, Herlings, Searle, Anstie, Osborne in the top 5, the overall Grand Prix will be Roczen on 55 points, Herlings on 50 points, Herlings on 44, Anstie on 38, and Tommy Searle on 36. So we saw a moment ago Osborne all over the rear end of Max Anstie. He could be the spoiler here. Either way, Monster Energy Kawasaki will have one of their riders on the podium this weekend, but just depends whether it's going to be Tommy Searle or his teammate Max Anstie. That'll be a tough pill to swallow, wouldn't it, for Anstie, doing all the hard work in the beginning, but you can't take anything away from Tommy Searle either, riding without goggles for much of the first race, and you know, he's still there pushing on in the second one.
He's riding fantastic, but I'm just kind of amazed by how far off the pace they are of Roczen and Herlings. Jeez.
Mistake there from the 99 of Max Anstie. That allows 3:38 Osborne to close back up. So with 2 laps to go, this battle for 4th position in the race, 3rd overall in the Grand Prix, is about to get even hotter. Zach Osborne on board. We see how close he is to Max Anstie as he's almost off the back of the bike coming down the staircase over the far side of the circuit. And he has the inside line there, does Osborne, but doesn't get the job done here. Both riders we expect to get over that double, and they both do so. What's going to happen here, David? Same line outside.
He's going to get roosted just like that spectator did. But he's totally aware that, I mean, he wants to make the pass anyway. That's just, you know, that's your instinct once you're a racer. But I think Anstie's aware he can't let this position go, or that's the podium.
I'm watching Max here. He looks like he's starting to get a little bit tight. He's feeling the pressure right now, and he's just got to keep thinking forward is what he needs to do right now.
Different line there from Osborne. You see that? He went wide and cut in, and Anstie went to the other side. They're transferring across the other side here in the first race just to get the momentum down this left-hand side as they come through this wave section here.
Now I'm watching Zach follow Anstie
going
right
inside,
now.
takes a big leap. So
wow.
Osborne on fire there. That was a great move.
He's been really fast in that section the whole weekend.
I was going to say, he was way too patient before, and I knew he had a spot picked out where he wanted to do it, and he succeeded perfectly.
This is what you said, David, in the MX1 race when we had Dino in, Dean Wilson, and you were saying as far as filler parts when he took out Bobrashev in that same corner, when you're there and you're ready to go, you just got to pull the trigger. Don't hesitate.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Zach didn't do.
Yeah, and you could tell that, you just had pointed out, Max was kind of starting to ride behind. What's he going to do? Let's see, he kind of wanted to transfer all the way over the rhythm, and then he thought twice about it, tried to protect the inside, and It just seemed inevitable because Zach
like,
is really pushing hard.
Yeah, he's squirting away from Max there pretty quick.
He's got a good pace. He's super aggressive. This is, I thought he rode well last year, but I'm seeing. I haven't really watched Zach ride that much, other than here last year, and certainly better performance in my view this time, as far as the effort and the pace that he's running.
Yeah, shame for Max though, just to lose it with a lap and a half to go, or pretty much just as the 2-lap board went out. But even still, credit to Zach Osborne. He's had a tough weekend, crashing in the qualifying race yesterday when it looked good for him, crashing at the start of race 1 at turn 2. And he's not had it easy in this second moto either. He was down in around about 10th or 11th position.
Nice.
That was
it
nice.
Looks like we sped the camera up just a little bit as we went back to the leader. He just got more momentum. He came out of that right-hander, just like slingshotted out of there, and then he hopped over that little bump that everyone slows down and rides through into the finish line. So
he just went across 3 ruts leading up into that single.
Yeah,
and
when it's going your way, right? You can do no wrong.
It goes his way quite often, I think.
Yeah. Well, he's been upside down a few times. Around Phoenix Supercross, I was feeling bad for him. Now it's...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he had a few Kyle Cunningham moments.
Uh-huh.
Well, hey, he figured it out.
Yeah.
He rode really well at Vegas. It was really cool to see him out there. And I was actually at the race, and he was riding really, really well.
Yeah, he even going down, and he still won by a pretty good ways.
And he has that win now, so when he comes back here at the end of the season to start training for 2012, of course he knows already that he's got the ability to win one because he's already done it. The monkey's off the back.
And now the expectation's there.
Yeah, exactly. So no pressure
It's
there.
one or the other.
Yeah, don't show me the bonus on the contract for winning the thing. So we're on the final lap then. Herlings, who's there, number 84 on the Red Bull Teka KTM. He's 26 seconds now down on his teammate. He's decided to throw in the towel, and he's got plenty of time over Tommy Searle on the Monster Energy Kawasaki in 3rd position as Osborne comes over the line in 4th. Anstie now over the line in 5th. So that confirms that the points for the overall Grand Prix. Roczen and Herlings renew. Searle now moves to 3rd. Ties on points with Anstie if it stays like this. So the 2 teammates trading positions for that 3rd and 4th position in the overall Grand Prix. And that'll be 3 in a row for Tommy Searle in terms of overall position. Well, 2nd overall at the first round, 3rd at the last round in Holland. So he's going to be more than, I suppose, pleased to still be on the box, still giving himself the shot to get in there. Because once you're out of those first 3 positions, you can't afford to give up that many points to the leaders, can you?
No, you've got to stay close, and it's nice to be close and be consistent, but at the same time, if you're Searle, and I've been in this position before where the leaders are pretty far ahead of you, and that just really eats at you all week. You're like, man, how am I that far back? I'm training hard, I'm riding hard, I got a great bike, I'm doing my work, and these guys are still getting me by a couple seconds here, 3 seconds there, and just got to stay in it. Like I said earlier, I was watching Roczen, make mistakes and go down, and he was hurt, and I felt actually a little bit bad for him, but you can turn it around. Motocross it's amazing, isn't it? Sometimes you're kind of in a funk, and it takes like a few laps of running a good pace of the leaders, and you're right back in the game.
Better could take you a few months.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Yeah, it can change so fast either way, though.
Coming out of the penultimate corner, Ken Roczen. 1 more turn to go, doubles his way in, nice and easy. Takes the checkered flag for the 2nd time today, wins the US Grand Prix. His 2nd Grand Prix win of the season moves him to 6th in his short career as an MX2 Grand Prix racer. And that's probably the hand that he landed on the sighting lap that he was just shaking there as he fell on the sighting lap en route to the first race start line. But doesn't matter now because 2 wins, nice big bonus, 50 points on the board for him. His teammate were waiting for him to come over the line, Jeffrey Herlings. He'll take 2 second-place finishes, and he's in the penultimate corner now. So just 1 more corner then. The right-hander just before the finish line for Herlings, and he's going to be on, 44 points for him. That's 2 second places. That's a Red Bull 1-2. Tommy Searle, though, he will come over the line in 3rd for the Monster Energy Kawasaki, and his teammate, well, he's going to have to settle for 5th position behind Zach Osborne, who's had a great ride this weekend, and he's going to be the top American in MX2. He's gone for Marty Moat's $5,000 bonus, I do believe. And that trophy that, if it's the same one as last year, was donated by Ricky Johnson last year, Japan Supercross.
From a GP or something.
Or Japan Supercross, Tokyo.
So Baker, just coming across the finish line, ended up in 16th, and I saw him when he was changing that wheel. I figured, well, he's not going to get any points.
Yeah, so he's got back in there.
Goes to show, he might not be contesting this whole series, but how important it is to stay out there and try to get those
Ken,
points.
overall GP win. It was amazing out there. You've got the overall win.
It was amazing, and I hurt my finger again at pretty much the beginning, but it was a good race. Jeffrey was pushing hard, but I could hold on, and I felt really good. Did some mistakes in the middle, but overall it was good.
Congratulations, well done.
You see the blood on the gloves there. That's from the first race. That's from trapping the hand underneath the handlebar when he went down on the sighting lap and riding through the pain barrier. He wants to be world champion this year.
Yeah, it shows. I'm impressed with how young he is and how much poise he has and all the attention that he gets. And he's able to manage it all pretty decent. So whoever's around him guiding some of that stuff, they're doing a great job.
Yeah. Well, like I said yesterday in the qualifying race, Thomas Ramsbacher at Suzuki when he was there was followed him everywhere last year. Didn't let him get too many interviews and that kind of thing. Just trying to stage manage it there. KTM do a very, very similar thing here. They hold a tight schedule. And like you say, it's down to
Just
the people
keep
that
them
surround
busy.
you. Yeah.
I think that's what Mitch Payton does. Hey, we're testing. What are we testing? I don't know.
Well, let's just give you a quick rundown unofficially of the top 10 as the podium gets ready for expecting our winners. Roczen wins. Herlings second, Tommy Sell third, Zach Osborne fourth, Anstie fifth in the end, sixth for Marvin Musquin, Oban seventh, Charlier eighth, Roulance ninth, and Jordi Tixier was 10th ahead of Harry Kulas, 11th this time out in the second moto. But Ken Roczen, though, that man there, he wins the Grand Prix in the USA. Well, the Stars and Stripes flies high over Mount St Helens among blue skies for the second race, I'm pleased to say. And good job, too, because we couldn't have had another race in the mud, could we? Not really, not in the USA.
No. It was nice to just get a little bit of everything today. On the way here, it didn't look good. It was pouring and really cold, windy. But it's like a completely different day right now.
Here we see the official confirmation. Roczen wins it then. Herlings, Searle, Osborne, Anstie, Musquin. Good ride for him, first race back, really. Disappointed that he didn't figure in the results in the first race after that crash on the first lap, but he'll be pleased with that with a week to go before the Nationals. Roulance was 9th, Tixier 10th, Harry Kulas, Scott champion. Pascal Rauschenecker, Alex Lupino, Nick Larson and Travis Baker picking up points despite a pit stop to change the rear wheel. Valentin Guillot, Peter Petrov, 18th this time for him, to go with that 11th that he picked up in race 1. Andrea Chervelin, 19th, and 166, which tether is that?
How many tedders are there?
Oh, there's a whole
There's
bunch
like
of them.
5 or 6 of them
Yeah.
that race.
Dakota. We put a T in there. We took Dakota. And Tonus, he'll be disappointed with that 33rd. Not even lasting a lap. So, can't believe they're putting water down again. We said that just before we came on air for the second race. After the rain that we had and the difficult conditions we experienced just prior to the start of the race, they got the hose pipes out, started dousing the place down, getting ready to do it again in MX2, who follow this race immediately. There's the overall Grand Prix. Roczen, for the second time this year, on the top step of the podium from his teammate. Herlings and Tommy Searle nudges out his teammate Max Anstie when Anstie got passed by Osborne with 2 laps to go.
He was trying, but I think Zach was real inspired by setting the fastest lap in the first practice session. He probably started to have maybe a little bit higher expectations, perhaps, from that, and then being in the USA and feeling like I got to put in a good performance here of all places, and he did. Good job.
He got some good revenge on that first moto.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, we see ya.
Sorry, was I missing something there? I didn't quite see what that was.
No, I was just waving.
World Championship classification looks like this. This is how it stands after 3 rounds. Ken Roczen extends his lead, 14 now over Herlings. Searle is third, losing the toe a little bit, 24 points behind the championship leader, Roczen. Osborne fourth, Anstie fifth now. So pretty good in some ways for some of those guys, but Osborne would have wanted to score a few more points here. He would have wanted to get back on the podium, wouldn't he?
Yeah, that just being in there, not getting the start he needed and being caught behind Musquin in the first one, that really messed him up. But he came back from it the best he could, and like you said, he came back and got some good revenge in the second moto. So he'll take some momentum into the next round from that.
What do you make of that second race, Mike?
It was a good race. Roczen did exactly what he did in the first moto and just went straight to work.